Hi, welcome in. Day 31, Obadiah, a new vocation. It takes the entire Bible to read any part of the Bible. Even the brief walk-on appearance of Obadiah has its place. No one, whether in or out of the Bible, is without significance. It was Obadiah's assignment to give voice to God's word of judgment against Edom. Back in the early stages of the biblical narrative, we are told the story of the twins, Jacob and Esau, Genesis 25 to 36. They came out of the womb fighting. Jacob was ancestor to the people of Israel, Esau ancestor to the people of Edom. The two neighboring peoples, Israel mostly to the west of the Jordan River and Dead Sea, and Edom to the southeast, never did get along. They had a long history of war and rivalry. When Israel was taken into exile, first the northern kingdom by the Assyrians and later the southern kingdom by the Babylonians, Edom stood across the fence and watched, glad to see her old relative get beat up. God, however, was not pleased. Godless foreigners invaded and pillaged Jerusalem. You stood there and watched. You were as bad as they were. You shouldn't have gloated over your brother when he was down and out. You shouldn't have laughed and joked at Judah's sons when they were face down in the mud. You shouldn't have talked so big when everyone was so bad. You shouldn't have taken advantage of my people when their lives had fallen apart. God's judgment day is near. For all the godless nations, as you have done, it will be done to you. What you did will boomerang back and hit your own head. Obadiah 1, verses 11, 12, 15. At first reading, this brief but intense prophecy of Obadiah targeted at Edom is a broadside indictment of Edom's cruel injustice to God's chosen people. Edom is the villain and God's covenant people the victim. But the last line of the prophecy takes a giant step out of the centuries of hate and rivalry and invective. Israel, so often a victim of Edomite aggression throughout the centuries, is suddenly revealed to be saved from the injustices of the past and taking up a position of rule over their ancient enemies, the Edomites. But instead of doing to others what had been done to them and continuing the cycle of violence that they had been caught in, they are presented as taking over the reins of government and administering God's justice justly. They find themselves in a new context, God's kingdom, and realize that they have a new vocation to represent God's rule. It is not much, one verse out of 21, but it is a glimmer. It is the final verse. The remnant of the saved in Mount Zion will go into the mountains of Esau and rule justly and fairly, a rule that honors God's kingdom. Obadiah 1:21. On the day of judgment, dark retaliation and invective do not get the last word. Only the first rays of the light of justice appear in Obadiah. But these rays will eventually add up to a kingdom of light in which all nations will be judged justly from the eternal throne in heaven.